No, for real. So these English fairy tale readings has turned into vocabulary lessons, history lessons, folklore research, and me asking questions every 5 minutes, for real. I had to figure out what a goshawk is, what a cygnet is, a spaewife. Meanwhile, I'm literally still trying to understand how this beautiful princess had children with a man who was a bird during the day and a man at night for 7 years and had her daddy just not notice. And then I read Johnny Cake. And immediately I'm like, this is the gingerbread man. Little cake pops out the oven, takes off running, outruns everybody, and eventually gets caught. And here I am like, what is original? Then again, these are the original fairy tales, English fairy tales. Then Mr. Miacca was basically about don't be a bad little kid running the street because Tommy Grimes, he had to learn the hard way. And then the Whittington and His Cat, I really like that one. He was like a poor orphan and he went to London and he really had it hard. And then he bought a cat for a penny and that cat ended up changing his entire life. Then there was a mention of traveling to the coast of Barbary in Africa and meeting Moors. So now I'm sitting here like, okay, now I have to research. And then there was the strange visitor, which was low-key creepy. She was just sitting at her reel, wishing for company. She still sat there and she still reeled and she still wished for company. And baby, the company came. So now my next reads like the Laidly Worm of Spindleton Hugh, called Lad of Hilton, Kate Cracker Nuts. I have to read that. The Magpie's Nest, The Cat and the Mouse, The Fish and the Ring, y'all, The Ass, The Table, and The Stick. And then Fairy Ointment. And of course, I'm probably going to have to look up more words. But this is what I like or love about this exploratory research phase. I'm not just reading fairy tales. I'm learning how people talked, what they believed, what they feared, how they imagined magic, how they explained creatures, and how these stories were used to entertain children. So, of course, yes, I'm going to continue to read and research and write. And apparently, I'm learning how to pronounce 1800s folklore vocabulary too. One fairy tale at a time. And again, I just can't get over the fact that these stories were written and collected so long ago and they still exist. Of course, some of these stories aren't stories for kids. They're not hearing these anymore, but once upon a time, this is what children were listening to. This is what they were imagining. This is what they were laughing at and scared of, learning lessons from, and repeating back to each other because stories stick, language sticks, character sticks, and ideas stick. Even if a child forgets the exact story, I wonder what part of that story stays with them. Is it the fear, a lesson, or the magic? Is it the idea of who gets to be brave, who gets to be clever, or who gets rescued, or who gets punished, or who gets rewarded? So interested in that. And maybe why getting my PhD is so aligned. And literally every time I look up one little word, it somehow gives me another question for my PhD research. Whimsying through, writing fairy tales for Black girls, and preparing for my PhD is lit. Who says you can't live a fairy tale? Who says you can't be legacy? Stay tender and dangerous.